The village of Kijani was a place of laughter and hard work, where the people honored traditions passed down by their ancestors. It was surrounded by a thick forest known as Mwitu Mweusi, the dark forest. No one dared wander too deep into it, for it was said that spirits lurked there, waiting for foolish souls. Among the villagers lived Tayo, a young man known for his curiosity and defiance of tradition. He had always questioned the stories of spirits and dark omens, believing them to be nothing more than the fears of the old. One evening, as the villagers gathered around a great bonfire to celebrate the harvest, an old man arrived, leaning on a wooden staff. His face was deeply lined with age, his eyes sharp and knowing. His name was Bahari, a revered elder and keeper of ancient wisdom. The drumming stopped. The laughter faded. All eyes turned to him. Bahari raised his staff and pointed it at Tayo. "You," he said, in a voice that sent chills through the air. Tayo swallowed hard. "Me?" The old man nodded. "Tonight, you will have a visitor. No matter what happens, no matter how much they call, do not open your door. Do not speak. Do not follow them." A nervous whisper rippled through the crowd. Tayo frowned. "Why? Who is coming?" Bahari tapped his staff on the ground. "A restless soul. One that does not return for love, but for vengeance." Silence. Tayo forced a laugh, though his palms felt sweaty. "I am not afraid of spirits, Manzi." Bahari sighed, shaking his head. "Then I fear for you, young one." With that, he turned and walked into the darkness, vanishing as suddenly as he had appeared. The villagers muttered among themselves, glancing at Tayo with unease. But Tayo only scoffed. "Ghost stories. Nothing more." That night, Tayo sat by the fire in his small hut, staring at the flickering flames. His heart was restless. The old man's words lingered in his mind. Then, a knock. Software. Slow. Almost hesitant. Knock. Knock. A voice followed, trembling and desperate. "Tayo, please, open the door. I am lost." Tayo froze. The voice was unmistakable. "Please, before we continue, subscribe to our channel, like and share. Thank you. Now, let's continue." His breath caught in his throat. Lulu was the woman he had loved in secret, but she had disappeared weeks ago without a trace. Some said she had run away. Others whispered that she had been taken by the forest. "Lulu?" he whispered. "Please, Tayo," the voice pleaded. "I am so cold. Help me." His heart pounded. He rushed to the door but hesitated. Bahari's warning echoed in his mind. "Do not open the door. Do not speak. Do not follow them." His hands trembled as he stepped back. He clenched his fists, his breath uneven. This cannot be real. The knocking grew louder. "Tayo, why won't you open? Don't you love me?" Tayo shut his eyes tight, forcing himself to remain still. Then, silence. He exhaled shakily. Had she left? But as soon as relief settled in his chest, something chilling happened. From outside the door, he heard a whisper, right by his ear. "If you won't open for me, then come to me." A cold breeze swept through the room. The fire flickered wildly. Then, footsteps. Slow, fading into the forest. Tayo's heart raced. Against every warning, against every instinct. He cracked the door open. And there she was. The moonlight bathed her in an eerie glow. She stood barefoot in the dirt, her once radiant skin now pale, her dark eyes hollow. Tayo's voice trembled. "Lulu?" She stretched out a hand. "Help me, Tayo. Please." 1,000 questions swirled in his mind. Where had she been? Why did she look so strange? Then she stepped back, toward the forest. Tayo hesitated. Then, as if in a trance, he followed. The deeper he went, the colder it became. The trees twisted into strange shapes. Shadows moved without wind. And then, whispers. Not just Lulu's. Many voices. murmuring, crying, calling his name. His breath came in ragged gasps. The ground felt softer, like stepping on something not quite solid. Then he saw it. A pit. A dark hole in the earth surrounded by scattered bones. The stench of death filled his nostrils. Lulu turned to face him. Her lips parted. She smiled, a slow, unnatural grin stretching wider than a human mouth should. Tayo stumbled back. "Lulu, what happened to you?" Her voice distorted, turning deep, guttural. "You should not have opened the door." Suddenly, ice-cold hands gripped his shoulders from behind. He screamed. A blinding flash of light filled the forest. A thunderous voice boomed. "Enough!" Tayo collapsed, his vision blurred. When he opened his eyes, he was back in his hut, lying by the fire. Bahari sat beside him, his staff planted firmly in the ground. His expression was grim. Tayo gasped. "What? What was she?" Bahari's eyes darkened. "Not who, young one. What?" He gestured toward the window. Outside, the sun was rising, revealing the forest in its normal, peaceful state. "Lulu died weeks ago," Bahari murmured. "She was betrayed." Tayo's throat tightened. "By who?" The old man exhaled. "By those who claimed to love her. She was lured into the forest by a jealous friend, robbed, and left for dead in that pit you saw." A lump formed in Tayo's throat. "Then, she was trying to take me too?" Bahari nodded. "Spirits like hers do not return for love, Tayo. They return for vengeance. They seek company in the darkness. If you had stepped into that pit, you would never have left." A shudder passed through Tayo's spine. Bahari rose to his feet. "Now, you understand. Never open your door to the dead. Never follow them into the night." Tayo swallowed hard and nodded. He had been a fool. From that day on, he never ignored the wisdom of the elders again. And neither did the villagers. Because once the sun set in Kijani village, no one opened their doors after dark. Not everything that calls to you in the night is meant to be followed. Some spirits return not for love, but for vengeance. This teaches that not all warnings are meant to scare us. Some are meant to protect us. Tayo's disbelief in the elders' wisdom nearly cost him his life. If he had respected the warning from Bahari, he wouldn't have stepped into the forest and almost met the same fate as Lulu. Please, if this story has blessed you, comment down below and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.